Real esoteric spirituality without all of the fluff, without all of the nonsense. This is the thunderwizard.com YouTube channel. Click subscribe and then hit the little bell button so that you can be notified whenever I've uploaded a video or when I'm doing the live Q&A videos. Good evening, Thunder Wizards. All right, so today I thought I would talk about something that I have had a lot of interest in, and perhaps one day I will get back deeply into it. And it has to do with a general term which we're going to use called thunder magic. So I don't know what anybody's background is. I don't know if they're Western magicians or if they're just into spirituality or if they're deep into other traditions, but there is a very intricate school in Taoist mysticism called thunder magic. And there's more than one kind of thunder magic, and there's more than one sect of thunder magicians, and there's they're all different kinds, and they're very in-depth. And you may, within, in Taoism, generally speaking, there are 5 mountains, 5 sacred mountains, and there is a monastery on each one of those mountains. And so there's probably in a Taoist monastery all different kinds of practices. There are people that are into mysticism, into meditation, into martial arts, into healing, into all kinds of different things. So usually somebody has, if they're a monk at a certain mountain, they usually have been introduced to multiple disciplines, but they probably are focused on one. So just because somebody knows about certain aspects, they may not necessarily be a master of it. It's just like going to a university. Just because you go to university doesn't mean that you know everything about physics and science and biology and philosophy. I mean, you probably have had classes in all of them, but then you focus on one and that becomes your major, and that's what you get your degree in. So Taoist mountains are a lot like that as well. And if somebody's really interested in it, as I said, it's a very, very in-depth practice, and you learn how to use the 8 directions and the 5 elements, and there's a lot of worshiping of thunder deities. And there's an interesting, I'm going to sort of branch off into some other stuff, but I'll bring it back here. There's an interesting aspect to some of it, which is that there are some thunder deities in Taoism, which, according to the tradition, is that they were demons who were then converted into the Taoist religion, and then they became protectors of it. So they're extremely powerful, and they protect, and they bring, because they were demons who had been converted, if you will, they're really focused on fighting against negativity. And this symbolizes a lot of different things, but let me just illustrate it by sharing with you something that I recently saw online. By the way, I hope everybody can hear me. I'm assuming that you can. There's only a few of you on, but hopefully everybody can hear me. As I probably like you, I fart around on YouTube, and I research stuff, and I like to hear what other people are saying, see what the competition is doing out there. And there's a person out there who talks about traditional European polytheism, And I've actually learned some things, but there's a lot of things that he says that I don't agree with. And this is one of those instances where I don't agree with this individual. What caught my attention was that I don't remember what the title of his video is, but it's something about, thank you, somebody said that they can hear me, thank you. Said that the Thurisaj rune was a rune of black magic. And I was, that's interesting. On the one hand, I was like excited because who doesn't like the idea of, forbidden, powerful magic? Of course I do. I mean, I'm technically, I don't consider myself a black magician at all, but I have gone into the darkness, and I go into the darkness to get a lot of my power. And, a true fighter of evil actually uses darkness more than light against negativity. So I was intrigued, and I started listening to him, and it became clear that he was making superficial connections, and he didn't really, in my opinion, know what he was talking about. But his argument was very logical, and I understood where he was coming from. And here's the argument that he gave. He gave the argument that the rune Thurisaj comes from the word for giant, which is thirst. That is true. He then goes on to connect thirst to Loki and the giants, and then from there makes the connection that this would be connecting to the magic of the Thyrses and the magic of Loki and the magic of all of that. And he originally got my attention because he talked about if you use the Thurisaj rune to ban people to if somebody's out to attack you for protection and things like that, and I was completely on board for that. And this will be clear why I am. And he's right that the rune Thurisaj does mean thirst, means giant. But he doesn't understand why it's called that and why that rune is actually used to fight against the giants. So again, this is, it's my pet peeve with just about everything, especially with reconstructing of the European tradition, is that, people really are just, making superficial associations. And I don't think they really think things through. And it used to make me angry until I realized, they're doing the best that they can. And I guess that's one of the reasons I'm here, is because I think that I'm able to intuit and decode things on a deeper level than that. But I have said that the Thurisaj rune is the rune of Thunar, and that is also because the sound of the Thurisaj rune is Thu. Thu. So the Thu syllable is a sacred seed syllable. That is for Thor, for Thunar, Indra, whomever. And that is actually used to fight against the giants. But Thor himself is half giant. So my friend is right in that the Thurisaj rune is magic of protection, and it is the magic of the giants. It's true. It's partially true. But what he was trying to say without really saying it was, I'm kind of, that this is into cool sort of black magic because it goes into Loki and the magic of the giants, and there's a whole movement in neo-heathenism called Rokatru, which is people who want to worship the Rokar. And they don't, they want to worship Surt and You know, they're what I really hear when I hear people talking about that, and these are usually people who are into magic and they're, you know, into the left-hand path. I say that in quotes, and all of that, esoteric. They might be the kind of person who says there's no such thing as black magic. There's just power. I understand what they're saying. Again, there's some half truths in there which I subscribe to, but for the most part, what I get is that these are people who are more progressive minded, more liberal minded. You know, they're probably going to vote Democrat, and they probably don't have a problem with drinking alcohol and partying and doing. You know, they'll probably even go on and say how spiritual it is to do ethnogens and all that. And this is the path of the giant, the path of the, you know, again, half truths, a lot of misunderstanding. But on a psychological level, my own personal take is they've got authority issues. They got mommy and daddy issues, and this is their way of rebelling and sort of justifying it. Because when you go deeper into, you know, the true left-hand path, you know, the true left-hand path is a path of celibacy. It is a path of, you know, not using any chemicals whatsoever, using the darkness to fight negativity and to look into yourself. It's not about what a lot of people want to pretend it's about. So I kind of got the vibe that this is where this guy was going to with this, and it was that superficial association with the giants to, you know, black magic and sexual magic and all of that. You know, again, the truth is that if you really want to understand the 30 Sage rune and the magic associated with it, it's definitely going to tap into the power of the giants, but not in that way. Because the reason why Thor is placed in the east, the reason, and it's not just me that puts him there, the reason why Thor's direction is the east, the home of the giants, is because he is the being that protects us from the pure giant energy. Pure giant energy, specifically the thirst energy, is extremely destructive. And it's a necessary force because it is the extreme expression of seeking one's own identity. And to have an identity means you have to separate yourself from everything else. And you know, the Greeks represent it very well. They have the Cyclops, Kuklops, the one-eyed monster giant. He doesn't have one eye because his third eye is open. He has one eye because he has total tunnel vision. He can't see anything beyond himself. He's not even narcissistic. Narcissists are really about themselves, but they need other people. What first caught my attention about Celestial Qigong was how incredibly simple and easy to do the moves were. My teachers taught me that the most advanced high-level energy work was always incredibly simple. I have been practicing and teaching Celestial Qigong for over 25 years, and listen, I could tell you what the benefits have been for me, but why don't I let you hear it from some of my students, average people just like you, who have been practicing this ancient and transformative energy practice that I call Celestial Qigong.
Hello, I'm Greg. I wanted to talk about Celestial Qigong and what it has done for me. And the first time I did it, and I think after about 3 or 4 movements, I remember this look on my face going, whoa, I'm feeling a lot of energy here. Wow, this is amazing. It really helped me to start having visions. I mean, I'm talking about actual visions right behind my closed eyelids. And it's just really amazing what it's done for me.
Hi, I wanted to make a quick video of a testimony of my experiences with Celestial Qigong, which have been nothing short of miraculous and amazing. It is a peace, a union the ability to manifest what I want, that I am in true total control of my life. I am.
Hello, my name is Maclovia. I have been practicing celestial Qigong for about 6 months because I was having depression. It has connected me to my higher self. My 9-year-old does it with me, and he says every night, "Mom, Qigong was good tonight."
Every night, me and my mom do it. It's like a protection spell. Yeah, I just wanted to thank you. This has really been good for me. Thank you.
I was just finished watching the Netflix thing about Ted Bundy, and they were saying that he was, what do you call that? Bipolar. He'd have the big highs and then he'd hit the lows, and the determination was that when he hit the lows, that's when he would go and commit his murders. And so his committing of murders was really him dealing in a really extreme way with self-hatred, depression. That was his way to deal with it, which is why he couldn't stop. Even after he had escaped twice from prison. Can you believe it? The guy escapes twice from prison. He doesn't go and get on a boat and go to Argentina and just keep quiet. He goes to Florida and kills people. That's his addiction. He's addicted. And so listening to that made a lot of sense. It was coming from his depression. It wasn't coming from his, him on top of the world, feeling like he was really something special. It's when he didn't feel good about himself. And so true giants aren't narcissists because they don't even care. They're completely clueless to anything other than themselves. They just eat whatever they feel like eating. They just do whatever they want to do. That's why they're stepping on people's houses and picking up their kids and biting their heads off. They have one eye. They don't see anything, which means they have no ability for empathy. They have no ability to understand that there are other people, and that they just see themselves as the only beings that exist, and everything else is just an object. So it takes a giant to fight a giant. Thunar represents the spiritualized ego, the spiritualized identity, and he represents boundaries. He literally represents boundaries because Thunar is the magnetic force in the universe. And in physics, the magnetic force is the force that prevents things from passing through each other. My hands don't go, I can't push my hands through each other because there's a magnetic force. The chair holds me up because there's a thing called a magnetic force, which separates my butt from the chair. And so he represents individuation. So thunder magic is about fighting negativity, fighting demons in the Taoist tradition, fighting thyrses in the northern tradition, because Thor represents individuating yourself from everything, being separate, being your own person, and he protects that. So what is black magic is the question. What is black magic then? Is black magic doing something forbidden? Is black magic doing something harmful? We could say that. Definitely black magic, true black magic would be harmful. People who do spells to harm other people, people who do spells to gain riches, to gain power, people who do love spells is black magic as well. And I'm saying they're harmful. What? Love spell being harmful? And I'm looking at it from more of a sterile perspective. I don't have any morals about it. It's just that everything that I just mentioned has to do with not respecting other people's boundaries. Doing black magic to cause somebody harm, to get revenge, to get them to fall in love with you, to have power over them, to manipulate them. All of this comes from the assumption that you're not respecting their right to have their own identity in the universe. So really, what we're talking about is we're talking about people who have dysfunctional, codependent issues. You know, I just got through talking about a serial killer. The perfect example. That is the ultimate extreme expression of somebody who does not respect somebody else's boundaries. Doesn't respect their physical, their sexual, their emotional boundaries, even their right to be alive. Means that they have no empathy and no awareness that there's another person over there. And so when you work with the thunder, what you're doing is you are working to empower your own identity. You know, a lot of people get wrapped up in thunder magic, wanting to create thunder, and you think about that. I got nothing against it, but it's like, how does that benefit you, really? I mean, how does doing something so that thunder strikes, how does that benefit you, really? You know, it's nice. Maybe it, you know, stimulates your ego, makes you feel powerful, but you're not understanding what the thunder is here to do, what the whole point of the thunder is. So all of the thunder gods, you know, I'm not going to get into the Taoist thunder gods. There's all kinds of thunder spirits that you know, you invoke with different hand symbols and different things and facing this direction and doing that. I'm not going to get into all that, but the ones that most people know of, Thunar or Thor, Indra, Shango, these are deities who I can't really. I'm not necessarily going to include Shango into this, but definitely I'm going to include the Taoist thunder gods, generally speaking, and Thor and Indra. We're dealing with the element of ether. And the ether is the highest vibration of the 5 elements. It's the least dense. And it represents the highest, it represents the closest you can get to perfection while still in the manifested state. So one of the things that Taoism has, which I think is really wonderful and it's really telling, is, you know, we have in this tradition that I teach, we have the thunder wheel. And the thunder wheel represents the 9 worlds, you know, the center where we live, which is Asgard. Excuse me, the center where we live, which is Midgard, and then all the other 8 worlds. And the Taoists have a thunder wheel as well. They have 2 versions of it. They call it the 8 gates, or the Bagua. There's a pre-heaven and a post-heaven Bagua. The pre-heaven Bagua represents the perfection of energy before it comes into manifestation. And this is, if you've ever gone to a Chinese restaurant and you see the little weird-looking 8-sided mirror on the front door as you walk in, that is a pre-heaven Bagua. And that they put that out there because that is what scares away evil spirits. And the mirror is on there for the same reason, because the idea is that if the demons can see their own reflection, they get scared because they're not aware of how they're out of balance. And so when you use a mirror and they see themselves, they get scared. And again, there's all kinds of symbolism in that, which I'm sure you can pick up from me talking about it. And you're not supposed to put a pre-heaven Bagua inside the house, because if you do, people will fight. Why is that? Why? Here's this really powerful talisman that gets rid of negativity and represents the purity of being before creation. Why wouldn't you want to put that in your house? Well, the reason you don't want to put that inside your house is because human beings are imperfect. And in order to have a relationship with other people, you have to accept their imperfections. So if you put this talisman of the pre-heaven perfection inside of the house, then people are going to start noticing everybody's imperfections. They're going to start fighting. So you put a post-heaven bagua. So the post-heaven bagua is the thunder wheel. It represents the same directions going in the same direction. And it represents the balance, because life in life in created reality represents a continual balance. Things are constantly moving and flowing. There's never this static perfection. That doesn't exist. And if you live in a human body, there is no such thing as this static perfection, which is why I don't teach enlightenment in the common understanding. I don't teach that because it doesn't exist. If you achieve that static perfection where you have no problems and everything is beautiful and you have nothing but love, and you become like a Vulcan, where you don't have any human emotions, and you're not bothered by anything, and you're just at this empty state of emptiness all the time. That's called being dead. That's what happens after you leave. If you get to that place, in all reality, you will stop living in the human body. Your human body will cease to exist, and you will go to another plane. You've been lied to about the nature of the matrix. What if I told you that you could hack into the matrix? I've done it, and I can teach you how to do it. Click below to watch the free video that I put on my YouTube channel a few years ago that has since gone viral. I discovered that the matrix, like everything else in the universe, operates from certain rules. There are 5 rules that govern the matrix. And then there is one secret technique that, to my knowledge, nobody else has figured out, that allows you to hack into the matrix, understanding these 5 rules and using these 5 rules to control, manipulate, and change reality so that you can have exactly what you want out of life. Don't allow yourself to be deceived by the victim mentality that has been thrust upon you by everybody in the media and in modern society, in history, in religion. You have the power to hack into the matrix, to control your life, and have the life of your dreams. Click below, watch the free video, and then learn how you can do what I've been doing for myself over the past few years. So the soul doesn't come here for that. The soul comes here for the imbalance and the adventure of it. And so our spiritual practice is to bring a balance to this ever-moving, ever-flowing life that we live in. And for this, we need thunder magic, because thunder magic is what helps create safe boundaries for people. And that's why thunder magicians fight evil spirits, because evil spirits, the base of evil spirits, whether they be Thursas or ghosts or demons or whatever, or people or serial killers, their base issue is that they don't have boundaries and they want to impose themselves on your boundaries. And so that means, and I'm moving myself up to my biggest pet peeve. My biggest pet peeve are codependent people, especially the kind of codependent people that kiss ass. I really dislike that. I'm not talking about people who give honest compliments or give gifts. I'm talking about, that super syrupy, clingy, needy person who does things for you, but they do it because they need something. The people who can't stand being alone. Now, I suffer from all the same things that I'm talking about. I'm no different than other people, but I have this radar where I can smell when somebody's coming at me with, maybe they're very sincere about how kind they are, but I can smell the neediness, and it just drives me crazy. And it used to actually offend me. I would get offended by those people. I don't get as offended anymore because, again, everybody's doing their best. So, but it's because I could tell that on an unconscious level, it was very selfish. It was very selfish. And they're presenting themselves as being selfless. These are the people who are doormats. They do run around being a doormat for everybody. But everything that they do for other people has a price attached to it. Maybe they're not even aware that they have a price attached to all the things that they do. And they say things like, one of their favorite phrases is, "I don't ask for much." And the truth is that means that every time that they do something, they're unconsciously wanting something in return. And because they continue to give and overextend and give themselves away, they're not getting anything back. Then eventually comes the blow up where they explode, and nobody ever does enough for them, and nobody cares about them, and everybody's selfish, and I give myself away to everybody else, and nobody does anything for me. You know, when that happens, people around them are like, where did this come from? You know, it'll be something really simple, something very minor, but it'll be the last straw on the camel's back, and then finally they just explode. Nobody ever does anything for me, and I don't ask for much, and you people, you know, have you ever, has your mother ever done that? You know, your mother finally explodes, I cook and I clean and I do everything and I get nothing from this family. You know, mothers do a lot of work, but point is that if you're truly a responsible warrior, then whenever you do something for somebody, you own it. If you're going to give somebody a gift, then you honestly look at yourself and you say, can I give this up? And will I be okay if I give this away and never get anything back? That's why you never lend your friends money. You never go into business with your friends. If you want to give if your friend wants to borrow $500, just give it to them. Because if you let them lend it to you, there's a pretty good chance you're going to end up in a fight over it at some point, and it'll destroy your friendship. So if you give it to them, just do it because you enjoy giving and don't expect anything back. So in terms of the thunder magic, the most basic thunder magic that you can be involved in is just simply any kind of energy work, specifically Qigong. So if you want to get started in thunder magic, you can go onto the thunderwizard.com free YouTube channel and just start doing the Qigong that's on. That right there is thunder magic. It'll empower your aura, which is, again, your boundaries. It will fill you with the power of ether, which is, again, Jupiter and Thunar and Indra. And if you really want to get into the actual kind of thunder magic power, then I recommend the Celestial Qigong. Celestial Qigong is distilled from a very powerful thunder magic practice that my teacher called spirit fighting. And so you can get started with that with the Celestial Qigong. And the great thing about Celestial Qigong and any thunder magic, by the way, doesn't matter what it is, whether you're doing the Taoist religious thunder magic and you're praying to the certain deity and giving the offering and all that other stuff. Taoist magic, by the way, is really complex. I mean, if you really want to find out what polytheist magic is all about, go study esoteric religious Taoism. You know, people think Taoism is Lao Tzu, and they think Taoism, they equate Taoism with Zen, because Tao talks about the stillness. And that stillness is the result of when you have balanced everything. That's why they use the 5 elements and the 8 directions and the 36 this and the 64 that, all these different things. They use all this stuff because it brings balance. And when you are able to within yourself, you want to experience that stillness. But it's a result of doing all this work to balance and flow with everything. It's a lot different than people think, and I've had, when I used to get people used to give me a hard time in the heathen community. They would, and they knew that I was a Taoist. They would go, "Oh, that's like Zen, and we're not." And I'm like, "You don't have the fucking first clue what you're talking about. It has nothing to do with any of that. It's the most polytheist, very complicated religion that I've ever seen." Anyway, I got off topic there. What was I talking about? I can't remember now. Okay, so last thing that I want to share with you about thunder magic is we need to talk about the planet Jupiter. And first we need to talk about Jupiter and what it represents. So Jupiter represents the expression of expansion. As I'm saying that, the word compassion keeps coming up in my mind. But that's part of it too. So Jupiter is the priest, but it's the priest that is following the liturgical rules and doing the ritual so that he can bring blessing. Jupiter is very strongly associated with children. So depending on where Jupiter is in your chart, it'll tell you whether or not you're going to have kids and how many kids you're going to have. So it represents expansion of energy, creation of energy. And Jupiter is the kind old man, the very powerful but wise and compassionate, tolerant, patient person who represents spirituality and spiritual evolution. And he's the guy, he doesn't lose his temper. He's the guy who mediates. And when you come into his presence, you feel very peaceful and very fulfilled and all of that. This is Jupiter. But then there's Jupiter retrograde. So Jupiter, when Jupiter goes retrograde, then Jupiter becomes thunder and lightning. So even the warrior gods get out of the way. And as I say that, I feel all this energy surging up in me. Even the warrior gods get the hell out of the way when Jupiter goes retrograde. And the reason for that is that when the Mars planets, when the warriors fight, they fight for all the same similar reasons. They fight to promote the good, to defend the weak, to destroy evil, Mars is also law enforcement, to enforce the laws, and they go out and they destroy the enemy, and they're very destructive, but in its ideal sense, the warrior is out to protect his family, his friends, his people, and the truth and all that stuff. So it's less discriminate. Because warriors also, they fight. That's just their nature. They just fight. And sometimes they fight when they don't need to, and they destroy when they don't need to. The fire element is associated with Mars, and wildfires are associated with Mars because the wildfires burn out all of the underbrush and help things to grow. But at the same time, fire destroys. So you got to make sure that Mars is in balance and that fire is in balance. So when Jupiter goes retrograde, what makes him so frightening is that he uses lightning, number one, which is incredibly, that clean smell in the air that you have after a lightning strike or after a thunderstorm. It cleanses. But it's because when Jupiter goes to war, it always has to do with evolution. It means that something or somebody is so out of balance and so resistant to evolution that the only thing that is going to snap them out of it is to strike them with lightning. The lightning cuts straight to the truth. This is why you use lightning to fight evil spirits. Because evil spirits, they can't look at themselves in a mirror. That's what Thor does. That's what Indra does. That's what the lightning gods do. They bring distilled truth in a way that is meant to slap you and wake you up, and this is incredibly challenging and frightening. So anyway, we can go on and on about that. So those are some of my thoughts about thunder magic. And again, I recommend, if you're interested, I'm bringing this up because I have had some people contacting me wanting to know about thunder magic, and they're being too literal about it. They want to know how to summon thunder or something like that. Again, I don't have a problem with that, but my thought is, why? Who cares? What big deal? What you really want to be able to do is to summon the thunder for your own evolution, for your own spiritual empowerment. The easiest way to do that is with Qigong. There are some things that you can do to meditate on thunder. There are things that you can do during a thunderstorm. I'll give you a real simple one, which is in the spring, wherever you are, when the first thunderstorm arrives, so the first time that you hear thunder in a given year, stop and face that direction. Even if you can't see it, you just hear the thunder in a certain direction. Face that direction, put your hands over your navel, breathe, focus on your navel, and pull the power of the thunder through your third eye and down into your navel center. Inhale that, bring it in there. Imagine the thunder in your navel center rumbling around and empowering you. And then that will empower you. The idea is that will empower you for the rest of the year. That's some simple thunder magic that you can do. I am here to tell you that you have been lied to about the law of attraction. As you know, I recently put up a video talking about the missing elements of the law of attraction. And I used verbatim some of the teachings of perhaps the most popular law of attraction teacher out there. This is a woman who claims to channel a male entity, is extremely popular. She's extremely rich and successful, and people from all over the world keep coming back to her month after month, year after year, taking her seminars. And yet, the majority of those people are not able to instantly manifest their desires and their intentions. And the reason for that is because the law of attraction, as it is being taught, is only being given to you partially. Because if you understand that there is a law of attraction and a law of manifestation, and if you combine the law of attraction and the law of manifestation, it works every time. But they are withholding from you the true teachings about the law of manifestation and how you have to combine the law of manifestation with the law of attraction. When you have those two together, as I said, you are able every time to manifest your intentions and your desires. So why are they keeping you from the truth? It's very simple. Because if they give you the whole truth, then you don't have to keep going back to them and buying their books and going on cruises with them and buying their seminars. So I have discovered what the law of attraction is and what the law of manifestation is and how they work. These are ancient shamanic practices that have been practiced for tens of thousands of years by shamans who understand the nature of life force energy and how it works. I'm going to share this with you, and if you want to master this and not have to keep going back and buying books and paying for seminars, I am going to lay out exactly what all of this is. If you want to keep going back to them, I'm happy for that too. I mean, I think it's great to spend money going to teachers, and I think it's great to go and spend money to work with mentors. I have a mentor that I work with, so I have nothing against that. So there's nothing wrong with getting together with people and going on cruises and having these seminars and feeling good and focusing on some of the aspects of the law of attraction. But if you don't want to be addicted to that, if you don't want to be dependent upon some other being from some other plane telling you what the truth is, you can master this on your own. You don't need them. Once you understand how this works, you can do it yourself. So I am offering a course in Mastery of Manifestation. To get started with that, go to thunderwizard.com, scroll down on the right, you will see Manifestation Mastery Course. Now, for those of you who are already signed up as a Thunder Wizard subscriber, then you can have a choice between just focusing on the Shamanism Mastery course, which if you really study that, you will find out where the law of attraction is and the law of manifestation, and you will be able to put those two together. But if you want to cut to the chase and get mastery of manifestation along with the mastery of the shamanism course, then you want to sign up for the Manifestation Mastery course. So that's my announcement. Keep your eyes open. I'm going to be uploading a lot of videos both here and onto the Patreon site. And just keep your eyes peeled because this is just the beginning. All right, talk to you soon. All right, so let's see if there are any questions here. All right, so let's see here. What have we got? Stephen Purdy. Okay, no, that's not a question. Yeah, so Stephen Purdy and anybody else, I appreciate it if you guys don't put links on here or suggest. I prefer that you don't take people out of, this or, that's why I don't like people putting video links on the comments section in the YouTube. The idea is to bring people here. If they want to go places on their own, they can. So I'd appreciate it if you didn't do that. Again, I'd prefer it if people only ask questions. I know this is supposed to be a discussion. I prefer that we keep it to questions only so that we stay focused. Victoria Bonner, did you have a question about narcissistic? You just put a question mark, so I need to know what your question is. All right, Devlin Kilmay has something here, which again, it's not a question, but it's something worth addressing. So I'm gonna employ some thunder magic with you, and I'm gonna hold up a mirror to you, okay? Because you say, it seems that each day that passes, people become more and more egoistic. It's difficult even to have friends nowadays. So what do you think that I'm going to hold up that mirror to? First off, I see a victim mentality in that. I don't know if you followed any of my teachings or my YouTube or read any of my books or whatever, but if you want to, in my experience, if you really want to gain power in your spirituality, the first thing you got to get rid of is any ego, any victim mentality. Victim mentality is the opposite side of the Thyrses. So the Thyrses, as I was saying earlier, the giants, which are also associated with the East and the thunder, expansive properties. The giants they're beyond narcissistic. They're just completely, totally tunnel vision. They have no awareness of anybody else. So they have no respect for anybody's boundaries. And so we experience those people in a very negative way. They may not even have anything against us. They may not even care. They just want what they want, and you happen to be in the way, and so they just step all over your boundaries and take what they want and leave. And we could call them egotistical. But the ego is extremely important. So bad-mouthing somebody, here's what I'm getting to here, and you may not like what I'm about to say, but if you're judging other people for having an ego, it means that your boundaries are not clear. If you see that people are too selfish, because that's another thing of what I'm hearing you say, people are too selfish, it's hard to be friends with them because they have too much selfish ego. What I'm hearing in that is that you're not getting what you want. It was what I was saying earlier. There's a codependent issue. You're on the other side. So on the extreme end, we talked about the serial killer. The other end of that extreme is the victim. Predators cannot function without victims. And predators can smell who is a victim and who is not. And so if you're being targeted by victimizers, guess what's going on? You are projecting your victim mentality. Codependence, wanting other people's love, wanting other people's approval, all of that stuff is as selfish. It has the same degree of selfishness as the person who comes in and doesn't respect your boundaries and takes this and manipulates you. It's a form of manipulation. It's not honest. You're not giving away because you honestly want to help. You're giving to get. Now, I don't know you. I don't know if I've ever seen you before, but the fact that you've felt the need to come and complain about other people's egos tells me that you have boundary issues. You don't know when to stand up for yourself, and you want to take from other people under the guise of being this victim who doesn't get enough love and whatever else. So there's the mirror. There's the thunder. There's some thunder magic for you right there. There are no victims in thunder magic. First thing, if you want to be a thunder magician, you cannot be a victim. Now, that doesn't mean that you can't have feelings of victimization. It doesn't mean you can't have any of these issues. It just means that when they come up, you go, oh, where am I out of balance here? Because one thing I'll tell you, if you work with thunder magic, like for instance, if you work with the celestial Qigong, or even if you get involved into a more intense thunder magic practice, one of the first things that will happen is the mirror will come up, and you will have to look at yourself. And you're going to see in yourself all that stuff you're accusing other people of. And so that's one of the reasons why when Thor is striking people with his lightning, or Indra is using his lightning, and when Jupiter goes retrograde, that it is all about spiritual evolution. And it is more frightening and is the most powerful thing in our created universe. It's more powerful than warriors, than the warrior energy. Even the warriors cower in the face of lightning. All right. Stephen Purdy says, don't forget the shutdown ritual after Qigong. Well, that's very true, especially if you've followed my teachings, and pretty much most of the time I tell people to do that. At least I hope so. Devlin Klein, what books can I read about the thunder magic for someone who's never heard of it? Are you aware that I have books out there? The Thunder Wizard Path. So go to, if you want to find out all my books, go to michaelwilliamdenny.com. I will have all of my books in there, and you can read about the Thunder Wizard Path. You can read about Thunder Shamanism. And you can also go to, I believe this is it, videos. Is this it? I think it's this one. Videos.michaelwilliamdenny.com, and you can get Thunder Qigong. And anyway, so any of my books that have the word thunder in it will have some explanation on thunder practices. And so there you go. All right, I'm not really seeing any questions here. Question, Katie Albert question. Are there any teachings in Indo-European lineages with beings or gods related to thunder doing or saying things backwards? First off, if there is, I've never heard of it. So it makes me want to know why you've asked that. Again, why are you asking me questions? Why do you ask me questions about things I don't teach? Is it because you're not familiar with my teachings, or is it, why is that? I don't have the first clue. I've never heard of anything like that. And why would a thunder god talk backwards? There's nothing about what you've just said that strikes anything with me. My first reaction to that is I want to say, what a bunch of hokey New Age nonsense. What kind of crap is that? But all I can tell you is that I've never heard of it. If it exists, I've never heard of it. I highly doubt it, and I'm very dubious about anything that wants to say that. It sounds like some bullshit nonsense, that somebody's throwing around on the internet. There's a lot of bullshit out there on the internet. On the internets. and on YouTube and all that. It sounds like nonsense from the internet. So I don't see a whole lot of people on here. We've been on here for about 45 minutes. Normally at this point I would take a break and we would play some other stuff, but Katie Albert, you are teaching in these lineages. So did you mean to say that? I don't know what you're asking here. You know, if you ask me a question, ask a question. You know, put like a subject and an object and a verb, and so I know what the whole question. I don't know what you're asking. You're teaching in these lineages and curious. About what? About what does that mean, curious? I mean, you were just sitting there and all of a sudden this thought came up. I wonder if things go backwards, and is that really what happened, or did you hear something somewhere? Come on, listen, if you want to be my student, this isn't personal, but if you want to be my student, it means that you put time and effort in what you say, that you think about the thoughts that go through your head. You know, maybe you had nothing better to do, you just came on, you wanted to watch, and oh, he's doing this, and I got nothing better to do. It kind of gives me the feeling you're not all that serious. You know? Again, I don't know you, but that's my impression of it. Emil Shelbourne. It's also helpful if you write question in the beginning so I know that you're asking me a question. Emil W. Shelbourne. Is there any more you can explain in regards to a lot of times that someone does something for someone else? It is often to create a debt with that person. I believe this is where honor comes from. What? I want to make sure I understand you, because if I'm reading that right, you and I are in complete, total disagreement. Is there more you can explain in regards to a lot of times that someone does something for someone else? It is often to create a debt with that person. Believe that is where honor comes from. Well, let's just take the first part of it. When somebody does something for someone else to create a debt with that person. If I'm reading that right, maybe I'm not reading it right. That sounds really manipulative. Why in the world would you want to be with somebody that does something for you, and when they do it, they want to stick a hook in you and have this debt? That's just what I was talking about. That's codependence. I can't stand that. I can't stand people who do that. I hate the, you know, ugh. Let me give you an example of it. When I was in college, there was a girl that I had known for years. We were friends. She had a crush on me. Okay, big deal. I had crushes on people and whatever. I was very clear that I wasn't interested in her that way, and I never took advantage of her in any way whatsoever. But she was in our extended group of friends. We've known each other for a long time. And on my birthday, I get woken up. It's like 7:30 in the morning, and my roommate knocks on the door, and he's like, so-and-so's here, and she insists on seeing you. She says she has a birthday present for you. Now, anybody who knew me back then knew that I liked to sleep, and sleeping in was the most important thing to me. If I didn't have to get up, do not wake me the fuck up. Let me sleep. So I get woken up. My roommate didn't do his job, which should have been, nope, he's asleep. You can come back. I'll call you when he's woken up, but no, he's asleep. He didn't do that. He felt guilty, so he let her wake me up. And she came in, and I'm like rubbing my eyes and wondering, why the hell is she here at 7:30 in the morning? And she says, happy birthday, I've come here to make you breakfast. And I said, I don't want you to make me breakfast. I want to go back to sleep. And this turned into an argument where she started arguing with me and started feeling sad, and she was upset, and she was offended that I wouldn't get out of bed and wake myself up after 4 hours of sleep and let her cook me breakfast. And it just, you know, and I felt all this pressure to go ahead and let her do this. And I thought to myself, you know what? No. I would want somebody to tell me the truth, and this is not a helpful way for her to function in life. I'm going to at least, you know, be an example of her, and she'll never forget this. And so I wasn't doing it to be mean. I was honestly doing it because if I were in her position, I would want somebody to give me an opportunity to have a shift in thinking about that. And so I stood my ground, and I said, no, I'd prefer that you didn't. I'm going to go back to bed. And she got very upset and left in a huff and all that stuff. And my roommate came back in, and he's like, I know, but God, you did. And I said, dude, don't you see that? This wasn't for me. She wasn't coming to give me a present. She was coming to ingratiate herself, and she was using my birthday as an excuse to ingratiate herself and, like you said, create a debt. And I'm not going to let somebody have that kind of power over me, but also at the same time, I'm going to teach people when I can. I want to treat others the way I would want to be treated. So, she was doing that very selfishly, and like my friend who got snowed with it and would have allowed her to come in and mess up his sleeping and, step all over his boundaries and, oh, thank you for those pancakes and all of that. And, then she goes home thinking, all right, I'm one step closer now because I made breakfast for him. And now he would let that happen because he's a nice guy and he doesn't want to hurt anybody's feelings. And that doesn't help anybody. So I don't know what you're talking about here about somebody doing something for someone else to create a debt with that person, unless we're talking about codependent, selfish people who are ass kissers and don't realize how selfish they are. They only do things to get. And then the next thing you say in whatever that is, not parentheses, I guess, in parentheses, believe that is where honor comes from. I think you can tell my belief on that. Where does honor say that you need to step all over somebody else's boundaries in order to get a hook in them and have them owe you something? Where is the honor in that? I would see it completely opposite. Let me give you another example. It's a very personal one, but I feel okay sharing it. When my fiance was passing away from cancer, this was over a year ago, and she did not like people being around her when she was sick. Now, she was dying, like she was going to die. She didn't want anybody around. She didn't want me, supposedly the most important person in her life, her children, her parents, her friends. She wanted nobody to come. Now, later on, she actually moved herself into a room where nobody knew where she was, and she died alone, because that's how she wanted to die. And of course, that was very hard on all of us. But when I started seeing this happen with her, I said to her, because I could see it coming, I said, I want to be with you all the time, and I want to spend as much time with you as I can, but I also know how you feel about this, so I'm only going to come visit you when you ask me to, because I understand you, and I know that, what this is like for you. And so that, you have to understand, that was the hardest thing for me to say. Now, what made it worse is that the people around me would be asking what's happening with her, and I'd tell them, and they'd say, when was the last time you saw her? And I'd say, it was a couple weeks ago. And, well, why don't you go visit her? And I'd say, because I don't feel comfortable visiting her. She's blah, blah, blah. And they'd say, no, she wants you to go. She needs you to go. You should go. And it became really hard. I felt so much pressure to go to do that then I started getting angry. And then my teacher, this is why he's my teacher. After he listened to everything, he said, I understand what you're doing. He said, this is a matter of honor for you, that you are giving her a gift. That while everybody else, all of her children, her parents, her friends, are all forcing themselves on her and, no, don't die, you are the only one that is giving her what she wants because you love her. He said, this is a sacrifice. You are sacrificing your own needs and desires because that's what she wants. and you're showing it's an act of love. And then I wept because it was so true that, oh my gosh, somebody saw what was, because nobody else, I was getting judged. People were saying, why are you so afraid? Why are you such an asshole? You need to be there. Nobody was listening to what I had to say. So in terms of a point of honor, honor says that you respect people wherever they're at. You know, as a teacher, people come to me sometimes who, you know, I know that there are things that they need. You know, I know that I have people, especially if there are people that have some physical illnesses, and I know that there are people that they should be going and go work with that person, go work with that person. And I just throw it out there and I say, are you interested in, I know this person who does this, are you interested? And they say, no, I've talked to everybody. And I go, okay. Even if I know that that might be the worst thing for them, even if I know it might kill them, that's their choice. I give you the right to make your own choices. I'm not going to impose anything on you. So I am completely, totally, 100% opposed to what I'm reading here, which says that creating a debt with somebody, you know, by giving them something in order to create a debt, that this creates honor. It creates codependence. And again, I might be misreading it or misunderstanding it, but that's how I see what you're saying. Thank you, Emil goes on. Thank you, that is where I was going. I see this happen a lot, even with people not intending to consciously, but if I do this, you owe me one seems to cycle in a lot of people's lives. Okay. Yeah, it's just called codependence. It's just dysfunctional codependence. It's nothing more than that. And yeah, everybody has it to some degree. Katie Albert, reason for a question. Many Native American indigenous cultures do have teachings around thunder beings and a backwards tendency. So I was asking out of curiosity. If your answer is no, cool. I don't know anything about, I've never been trained in Native American traditions. I am dubious of 99% of anybody who says that they've trained in Native American tradition. Not that they're lying, but I'm dubious about most of it. But I can't say whether you're right or not. I've never, I can't, I don't represent any Native American teachings. All right. Okay, so she's just telling us her experience. Yep. Don't know anything about that. All right. I don't see any more questions. We're coming up on an hour, just right about on an hour. So I'll go ahead and wrap it up. If you want to, as I said, if you want to get started with with thunder, with the power of thunder, I recommend going onto my free YouTube channel, and you can practice the Thor's Hammer Qigong, which will connect you to the power of Thor. You can do the Thurisaj rune mudra and mantra. You can do. You can go onto Amazon and look for Thunder Qigong or Thunder Shamanism. I have a book and a DVD for Thunder Shamanism. Most powerful thing I can recommend is what I've already suggested, which is Celestial Qigong, and I believe I have a website just for that, celestialqigong.com. True thunder magic means that you're working not just with the element of thunder, but that you're working with higher beings that bring this very high vibrational ether element vibration into it. And this is one of the things that Celestial Qigong does. All right. Anything else? No, I don't see anything else. All right. That's it for me, my friends. Go to courses. For those of you who come on here, and some people don't even know that the Thunder Wizard has all kinds of books and DVDs. Go to courses.thunderwizard.com if you want to see everything that I offer. If you are interested in learning shamanism, real shamanism, syncretic shamanism from all over the world that's been distilled into one place, you go to thunderwizard.com And even if you just start out at the base level there, that will give you access to all of the videos where I teach you step by step how to work with the thunder wheel, how to work with the 9 worlds, how to work with the entities of the 9 worlds, how to use divination with runes, how to do ceremony, how to do ritual, all that kind of stuff. And I think I go into thunder shamanism as well. Go to thunderwizard.com for all of that. If you haven't already done so, please go to the thunderwizard.com YouTube channel and subscribe there. I just started a new manifestation course, which you can read about on the thunderwizard.com site as well. So that's all the information I have this evening. If there's no more questions, I'll let you guys go. And I'll probably see you sometime later this weekend. All right. Good night.
Oh, by the way, please subscribe and click on the bell button so that you'll be notified every time that I have a video comes up. Also, go to this link here so that you can enjoy the live question and answer videos. If you want to learn about all my books and my DVDs, you want to find out all the courses that I teach, then go to courses.thunderwizard.com. If you think that I should stay on this channel, if you think I should be telling the truth, if you think that I should stand up to these billionaire gurus who are trying to silence me from telling the truth, then I want you to go here, thunderwizard.com, and subscribe.